Welcome to Wolfcroft, stories based on true people, events and happenings in history, or just some fun adventure, suspense chilling thrillers, or just a short fictional story. You came to the right place. If this is your second time listening, please do not forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss out on new stories. And if you like this one, please don't forget to hit the like button. For now, let's get into it.
Scrambled by KJ GROWLING. Author's note, filed privately, never posted to eggs. The cruelest thing about love is its timing, not its presence, not even its absence. Its timing. The way two people can spend months crossing toward each other from opposite directions and miss each other completely, passing in the dark, in the chaos, on different roads, each of them moving toward a place the other one just left. I didn't know, when I started posting on eggs that December, that I was about to meet someone who understood this better than anyone I'd ever known. I didn't know a lot of things. Nigel tried to warn me. He always does. Chapter 2. December 2nd, the replies chain. 10 days before anyone admitted it was happening. 07:02 a.m. Nigel came on at 6:47. He did not sound like himself. This requires explanation because Nigel is a radio, and radios do not have selves in any conventional sense. And I am aware that saying a radio does not sound like himself is the kind of sentence that would get a first-year creative writing student a concerned note in the margin. But I have listened to Nigel every morning for 3 years, and there is a frequency to the BBC morning program, a particular confidence in its own authority, a settled certainty that the world is a place that can be described and understood and organized into segments between the traffic and the weather. That was not present this morning. This morning, Nigel sounded like someone reading from a script they'd been handed 30 seconds ago. The presenter, not the usual one, said, "Good morning. It is 7 o'clock. Our top story this morning. The Department of Health has confirmed 17 cases of what it is now calling HEV1, a novel viral presentation, in hospitals across East and Southeast London. Patients are described as being in a state of acute neurological distress. The department stresses that the situation remains contained and that there is no evidence of widespread transmission. Members of the public in the following postcodes are advised to." I was already at my desk. I was already writing. At KJ GROWLING 7:08 a.m. Nigel has a new name for it. HEV1. It has a name now. Things get names when there are enough of them to require organization. Just nodding that. Egg 89K speech balloon 34K. At BBC breaking 7:09 a.m. BREAKING. Department of Health confirms 17 cases of novel virus HEV1 in London hospitals. Patients experiencing severe neurological symptoms. Public urged to remain calm. At KJ GROWLING 7:11 a.m. Replying to at BBC breaking. Remain calm is doing an enormous amount of heavy lifting in that sentence. Egg 234K speech, balloon 56K. At Elon Tusk, 7:14 a.m. 17 cases in a city of 9 million. Relax people egg. At KJ GROWLING 7:15 a.m. Replying to at Elon Tusk. Elon, with respect, you said the same thing about the Bohr Tunnel project 3 days before it flooded. Perhaps sit this one out. Egg 1.1 m speech, balloon 203K. I put the phone down and looked out at the street. Mrs. Patel's milk was still there. A second bottle had joined it overnight. The morning delivery, placed neatly beside yesterday's, 2 white cylinders on a cold doorstep like a small patient vigil. The street was quiet again. Not the normal quiet of early morning, but the specific quiet of a place that is holding its breath. I put on my coat. 07:34 a.m. I knocked on Mrs. Patel's door for a long time before I tried the handle. It was unlocked. I want to be precise about the following because I am a writer and precision is what I have, and because I think it matters. What I found was not dramatic. There was no horror movie reveal. There was no blood. There was nothing that would look significant in a film. There was simply Mrs. Patel, in her armchair by the window, asleep, or what appeared to be asleep, with the television on and a cup of tea on the side table that had been there long enough to develop the particular gray skin of something completely cold. The television was showing rolling news. The curtains were half open. The room smelled of her cooking and her particular soap, and something underneath both of those things that I didn't have a name for yet. Something faintly chemical, faintly wrong. The way a room smells when a body has been working very hard against something for a long time. "Mrs. Patel," I said. She stirred, turned her head toward me with a slowness that was not her usual movement. She is a brisk woman, Mrs. Patel, efficient, not given to languor. Her eyes were wrong. I don't mean they were frightening. I mean they were occupied differently, present but distant. The lights on but something behind them rearranged. She looked at me the way you look at something you recognize the shape of but can't immediately place. "It's KJ," I said. "From next door, are you all right?" A long pause. "Hot," she said. Her voice was rough. "Very hot." "How long have you been feeling unwell?" Another long pause. She thought about it with visible effort. "Tuesday," she said. Today was Wednesday. "I'm going to call someone," I told her. I called 999. I was on hold for 11 minutes, which had never happened before in my life, and which told me more than the hold music did. When I finally spoke to someone, they took the address with a briskness that suggested they were writing down a great many addresses this morning and told me someone would be there as soon as possible. As soon as possible, said in that tone, means we are doing what we can with what we have, and what we have is not enough. I went back to Mrs. Patel. I brought her water. I sat with her for 20 minutes while she drifted in and out of something that wasn't quite sleep. I held her hand when she reached for something that wasn't there. Before I left, I took both bottles of milk from her doorstep and put them in her fridge. It was the only useful thing I could think to do. I went home. I sat at my desk. My hands were steady. I note this not as bravery but as a curiosity, because inside I was something other than steady. But my hands knew what to do. They picked up the pen. They opened the notebook. They wrote day 2 at the top of the page without being asked. Then I picked up my phone. At KJ GROWLING, 8:19 a.m. My neighbor is unwell. Fever. Confusion. She's been ill since Tuesday. I've called 999. I was on hold for 11 minutes. I have never been on hold with 999. I'm going to say that again because I think it matters. I have never been on hold with 999. Egg 567, K speech balloon 178K. At NHS England official. We are experiencing higher than usual call volumes. Please only call 999 in a genuine emergency. For health concerns, please visit 111 online. At KJ GROWLING, replying to at NHS England 8:21 a.m. My 71-year-old neighbor has a high fever, neurological confusion, and has been alone and unwell for 36 hours during a viral outbreak. Define genuine emergency. Egg 2.3M speech balloon, 445K. The replies had changed overnight. This is what I meant yesterday when I talked about the tide. The mockery was still there. It is always there. It is geological at this point. It will outlast me, but it had thinned. The way ice thins in March, still present but no longer load-bearing. What had replaced it, filling the gaps, was people. Just people. Real ones, I thought, or as real as anyone is on eggs, which is to say real enough, frightened enough, present enough to matter. Same thing happened with my dad's neighbor in Hackney. She had the fever 2 days before anyone knew what was happening. The 999 hold time is the scariest thing I've read today. KJ, I know we've disagreed about things, but please keep posting, please, keep telling us what's happening. That last one stopped me. We've disagreed about things. What a civilized way to put it. This person had, I suspected, been among the thousands who had spent the last 3 years telling me I was a monster. And now they were asking me to keep posting. Because I was here. Because I was saying what I was seeing. Because the truth, the plain, documented, precisely observed truth, is not a political position, and in a crisis it becomes the only currency worth anything. I thought about Harry Potter, about the chapter in The Prisoner of Hogsworth where he is locked in the dark and has to find the spell not in the wand, but in himself. I wrote that scene at 2 a.m. in Edinburgh with cold tea and an empty bank account, and I thought I was writing about a fictional boy. I kept posting. 11:58 a.m. The ambulance never came for Mrs. Patel. I checked on her at 11. She was sleeping, properly sleeping this time, or something that looked like it, more restful than this morning. Her forehead was hot, but her breathing was even. I left her water. I left my number on a piece of paper by the telephone in the hallway, the actual telephone, the landline, because Mrs. Patel has a landline, and I find this enormously reassuring in ways I couldn't fully articulate. Nigel, when I got home, was interviewing a virologist. I turned him up. The virologist, a woman, precise, academic, with the particular quality of someone choosing every word with surgical care, said the following things. That HEV1 appeared to have a longer than usual incubation period. That this made containment significantly more challenging. That the neurological presentation was unlike anything in current literature, which she said with the specific controlled alarm of someone who understands that saying unlike anything in current literature on national radio at noon on a Wednesday is not a sentence to deploy lightly. The interviewer asked, should people be worried? The virologist paused for exactly 2 seconds. In radio terms, 2 seconds is an enormous pause. 2 seconds on radio is a paragraph. People should be, she said, appropriately informed. I wrote that down. Appropriately informed. I thought, we're not being appropriately informed. I thought, I am going to be the appropriate information. I picked up my phone. Elephant and Castle, London. Meanwhile, 11:43 a.m. Approximately 3.2 miles southwest of KJ GROWLING's desk. First appearance of Steven Vox. The hostile common room smelled of instant noodles and someone's laundry, and that specific universal hostile smell that exists in every backpacker accommodation in every city in the world. A democracy of transients, the mingled trace of everyone who passed through and left nothing behind but this. The television on the wall was showing rolling news with the sound turned low. The red breaking news ticker moved across the bottom of the screen in its perpetual state of emergency. HEV1 cases rise 234. Health Secretary to address Parliament. East London RESIDENTS urged to remain indoors. Nobody in the common room was watching it except one person. Steven Vox was sitting in the corner chair, the good one, the one by the window that got the most light, that he'd claimed on day one by the simple expedient of being the first person awake. With his guitar across his lap, and his phone propped against his knee, and his eyes moving between the television and the street outside, in a rhythm that was becoming increasingly difficult to maintain as a casual activity. He had been in London for 4 days. He had spent those 4 days doing the following things in roughly this order. Recovering from the flight, filming a walking tour of Borough Market that he hadn't edited yet, eating a full English breakfast, and filming his reaction for Hot Gear Cape Town's food content, which he was experimenting with, getting genuinely lost on the tube twice, standing on Tower Bridge for 40 minutes in the cold filming cars, and crying slightly, which he would never admit to, and writing 3 pages in his notebook about Victoria that he would also never admit to. He had not yet been to Clarkson's farm. He had a plan for that. Next Tuesday, rented car, proper filming day. He'd written the shot list in his notebook the night before last with the particular careful optimism of someone arranging the scaffolding of a life they haven't fully built yet. Now he was watching the news ticker and playing the opening of Wish You Were Here very quietly, so as not to disturb the German couple sleeping on the couch across the room, and thinking. The thinking had a specific texture. It was Cape Town thinking. It was the kind of thinking you develop growing up in a city that is simultaneously one of the most beautiful places on earth and one that can turn complicated very fast. A city that teaches you to read a street, to read a crowd, to feel the particular atmospheric pressure drop that happens before something goes wrong. London felt like that right now. He stopped playing. He picked up his phone and opened Eggs. He was not a heavy Eggs user. He had an account mainly for Hot Gear Cape Town promotional purposes, 412 followers, mostly car people, a few people from Cape Town who knew him, and scrolled. The KJ Growling post stopped him. My neighbor is unwell. Fever. Confusion. She's been ill since Tuesday. I've called 999. I was on hold for 11 minutes. He read it twice, then read the replies, then scrolled back up and read it again. He knew who KJ Growling was. Jen now. Of course he knew. His mother had cried at the end of Harry Potter, and the Deathly Shadows, proper cried. He thought she was being dramatic until he read it himself at 16 and didn't leave his room for a day. But that wasn't what stopped him. What stopped him was the 11 minutes. He had grown up in Cape Town. He understood what infrastructure failing felt like at a cellular level. He understood the specific mathematics of a city beginning to exceed its own capacity for crisis management. 11 minutes on hold, with 999, was that mathematics. He put his guitar in its case with a care that was entirely automatic. He did everything with his guitar carefully. It had cost him 4 months of savings, and went to the window. The street below was quiet. Not London quiet, something else. He picked up his notebook. He opened it to a fresh page, past the shot list for Clarkson's farm, past the 3 pages about Victoria he wasn't going to think about right now. He wrote the date at the top. Then he sat for a moment, pen in hand, looking at the television. The ticker said, Health Secretary to address Parliament at 2 p.m. He wrote, Day 1, London, something is starting. Then, below that, in smaller writing, the way you write something you're not sure you mean to write. She would know what to do right now. She always knew what to do. He crossed it out. Then, after a moment, he wrote something else underneath it. The opening line of an Annan May Canterate song, the one she used to play, the one he still couldn't listen to all the way through, and then crossed that out too. He closed the notebook. He went to find food before whatever was starting got further along, because in Cape Town you learn early. When things go uncertain, you eat while you still can. On the television above the empty common room, the ticker moved and moved and moved. 3:31 p.m. Back at my desk. Nigel was covering the Health Secretary's parliamentary address live. The Health Secretary was a man I had always found slightly unconvincing even in normal times. The particular quality of a politician who has rehearsed sincerity so many times it has become a kind of anti-sincerity. And today he was operating at the outer limits of his convincingness. He confirmed 34 cases. He used the phrase robust response 4 times. He declined to answer 3 questions about whether HEV1 had been detected outside London. The declining to answer was itself an answer. I was posting in real time. At KJ Growling 3:34 p.m. Live Nigel Watch, Health Secretary confirms 34 cases. Has used robust response 4 times. Has not answered whether HEV1 is outside London. The not answering is the answer. Egg 1.8 m speech, balloon 234K. At KJ Growling 3:41 p.m. He just said, at this stage we have no evidence of sustained community transmission. Sustained. Community. That is 3 qualifiers on 1 sentence. That sentence has more qualifiers than a legal disclaimer on a pharmaceutical advert. Egg 3.1 m speech balloon, 567K. At HealthSec UK, official. We want to reassure the public that the government is taking all necessary steps. Please follow official guidance only and avoid spreading misinformation. At KJ Growling, replying to at HealthSec UK 3:44 p.m. I am a woman sitting at her desk reporting what she hears on the radio and sees on her street. What specifically is the misinformation? Be precise. I'll wait. Egg 4.7 m speech balloon, 890K. The number stopped me. 4.7 million eggs on a single post. I have posted on eggs for 3 years. I have 14 million followers. I'm no stranger to numbers. But 4.7 million on a single post in under 10 minutes, that was not my usual audience. That was people outside my usual audience. That was people who had been mocking me yesterday reading me today because I was saying what I was seeing, and what I was seeing was what they were seeing, and nobody official was saying it back to them. I thought about what it means to have a voice. I thought about the years of being told my voice was dangerous. I thought about Harry Pooter, standing in the great hall of Bogwarts at the end of the Deathly Shadows, exhausted, wandless, telling the truth to a room that had spent years being lied to. I thought, so this is what the voice is for. I kept posting. 8:17 p.m. By evening, the street had changed again. 3 houses had lights on that hadn't had lights on last night. People home, staying home, the glow of televisions visible behind curtains. 2 houses that had been lit last night were dark. The corner shop had closed early. The post box on the end of the street had a handwritten note taped to it that said closed in capital letters, which is not something post boxes do. I had eaten properly eaten, not toast, because I had the vague professional instinct of someone rationing for an uncertain duration, and fed the cat, Professor Sprout, gray, imperious, entirely unbothered by viral outbreaks or eggs controversies, which I consider the appropriate response to both, and checked on Mrs. Patel again. Mrs. Patel was worse. Not dramatically worse. Not in the way I will see later I didn't know about later yet, but hotter, further away. She had moved from the armchair to the floor at some point. She was sitting against the wall beside the armchair, not in distress, just differently arranged, as though the armchair had become too complicated. She didn't respond to my name. She responded to my voice, turned toward it, tracked it, but without recognition. I sat with her for an hour. I talked to her about nothing important, about the Fantastic Beasts Illustrated Edition coming out Thursday, about the plot of Book 8 that I probably shouldn't be telling anyone, about the lamb curry she made me 3 months ago that I am still, genuinely, thinking about. She didn't respond, but she was calm when I was talking and agitated in the silences, so I kept talking. At 8 o'clock, I went home. I stood at my desk and looked at Nigel. I know, I told him. Nigel played the evening headlines. At KJ Growling, 8:24 p.m. My neighbor is worse. The ambulance didn't come. I'm going back to check on her in an hour. Cases are now 34 confirmed, but I live on a street in London and I can count at least 3 houses that look wrong tonight without trying. 34 is not 34. Egg 6.2 m speech balloon 1.1 m. At Steven Vox Hotgear, replying to at KJ Growling 8:31 p.m. Same thing here near Elephant and Castle. 3 people from my hostel didn't come back tonight. Staff don't know where they are. Nobody's saying anything official. You're the only one saying what it looks like from ground level. Keep going, please. Egg 847 speech balloon 12. I almost missed it. It was one reply among thousands. An account I didn't recognize at Steven Vox Hotgear, 412 followers, profile picture of a man leaning against a car somewhere sunny, bio reading cars. Cape Town, sometimes music, posted 12 seconds before I looked. I don't know why I stopped on it. Perhaps it was keep going please, not you're amazing or queen or any of the performing affirmations that fill these feeds. Just that. Keep going please. The pleas of someone who genuinely needed you to. Perhaps it was 3 people from my hostel didn't come back. Perhaps it was the car in the profile picture and the Cape Town in the bio and something about the specific quality of his observation. Nobody's saying anything official. That read like someone who knew how to read a situation. Someone who had read situations before. I egged it. At KJ Growling, replying to at Steven Vox Hotgear, 8:34 p.m. I see you. Stay inside tonight. Don't wait for official. Egg 34K. I don't know why I replied to him, specifically out of thousands. I don't know why I egged it instead of just replying. I suppose I don't need to know why. I just need to document that I did. Because that reply, that specific egg on that specific post from a 32-year-old man from Cape Town who was looking out of a hostel window near Elephant and Castle at a city beginning to come apart, is where this story actually starts. Not with the virus, not with Nigel, not even with Mrs. Patel. With a reply. With a please. With a stranger saying, "You're the only one saying what it looks like from ground level," and another stranger saying, "I see you." That's how it started. As things do. 11:59 p.m. At KJ GROWLING, 11:59 p.m. It is midnight. Nigel is still on. Professor Sprout is asleep on the manuscript of Book 8, which I choose to interpret as a review. Mrs. Patel is stable. The street is quiet. I have spoken today to more strangers than I have spoken to in months, and I find that I cannot decide whether this is the saddest or the most hopeful thing I know about human beings. Perhaps both. Stay inside. Check on your neighbors. Tell the truth about what you're seeing. Good night. KJ. Egg 8.9 m Speech Balloon 2.3 m. End of Chapter 2. December 2nd, KJ GROWLING's Eggs posts, 14. Total followers gained today, 2.1 million. Mrs. Patel, stable. FEVER Chinese letter. Ambulance, still not come. Nigel, still on, still choosing words carefully. Professor Sprout, asleep on Book 8, no notes. Steven Vox, in a hostel near Elephant and Castle, 3 empty beds, notebook open, guitar in its case, thinking about Cape Town, thinking about a girl in Germany, thinking about Clarkson's farm. The city, 34 confirmed cases. The city, lying about the number. Chapter 3 follows. December 3rd, the politics become irrelevant. In which KJ does not leave the house. In which the street changes in ways that cannot be explained by 34 cases. In which Nigel says something he cannot take back. In which Steven Vox picks up his guitar for the last normal reason he will pick it up for a very long time. And in which KJ GROWLING, author of the most beloved series of books about a boy who survived impossible things, begins to barricade her door.
If you would like to know more about history on a specific person, time or place, or even just fictional creativity like adventure, horror, zombie survival, take a moment and drop us a comment down below for your request, or send us a mail and the team here at Wolfcroft Stories will be glad to mention your preferred name as to the inspiration to the video to the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to know, learn or listen to more like these, why not give us a like and subscribe for more? Wishing you a safe and grand week ahead from the team at Wolfcroft Stories.